Many of us living in the modern world choose packaged foods as our go-to snacks. Just like my character Vivian, we find these convenient foods quick, easy, and tasty. But I found that these quick fixes often don't give me lasting energy or real nutrition. Instead, they can leave me feeling empty or lethargic and craving for more. In this Read and Draw series, I'll share what I've learned from Chris van Tulleken's book, Ultra-Processed People, along with other writers and courses I've studied, about how ultra-processed foods are designed to keep us hooked rather than nourished, and what that means for our health and the planet. First, what are ultra-processed foods, known as UPFs? First level of processed foods are typically foods that have been altered from their original form through methods such as cooking, freezing, canning, or fermenting. This category includes foods that have undergone minimal processing. Some examples would be tofu, canned vegetables, frozen fruits, and yogurt are all considered processed foods. Then we have the ultra-processed foods. It might be used in a similar term called super-processed foods. These are products that contain ingredients not typically found in a home kitchen, such as artificial flavors, preservatives, sweeteners, and emulsifiers. These foods often undergo extensive processing and are designed for convenience and long shelf life. Some examples would be sugary snacks, soft drinks, instant noodles, and ready-to-eat meals all fall into this category. They often contain multiple additives and are less nutritious than whole or minimally processed foods. The bliss point and why it's hard to stop eating. Ever notice how easy it is to finish a whole bag of chips when you only meant to have a handful? Food scientists talk about the bliss point, which is the mix of sugar, fat, and salt that maximize taste while delaying satiety. Companies test these combinations through taste trials and neuroscience research. And it's not just flavor, textures matter too. That perfect crunch in a chip, the creaminess of ice cream, or the melt of a pastry are all engineered to heighten sensory pleasure. It's why these foods can be so hard to put down. Why UPFs are often cheaper. UPFs are everywhere. Supermarkets, corner shops, vending machines, even online. And they're usually cheaper than fresh whole foods. That's largely because they're built on a few cheap monocrops like soy, corn, wheat, and palm oil. These are grown at massive scale, often linked to deforestation, heavy pesticide use, and soil erosion. Reports by the FAO and WHO have connected monocultures to biodiversity loss and climate stress. Once harvested, manufacturers add sugar, stabilizers, and preservatives to extend shelf life, which works well for distribution and profit, but not always for nutrition. Why portion control feels impossible. Nutrition labels suggest small serving sizes, but most people naturally eat far more. For example, one serving of cereal might be 30 grams, but who actually stops at that? I used to pour 3 to 5 times that amount without realizing. Even when nutrients are added back in, they often come alongside high amounts of sugar, salt, and hydrogenated oils. Research published in the British Medical Journal has linked high UPF consumption with obesity, type 2 diabetes, and cardiovascular disease. Why the form of food matters. You might not know this, but until I read the book, I realized that a whole apple, an apple smoothie with pulp and fiber, and pure apple juice all affect the body differently. Fiber slows sugar absorption, but when it's removed during processing, blood sugar spikes more quickly. Harvard School of Public Health studies show that eating whole fruits lowers diabetes risk, while fruit juice raises it. That means the apple juice you commonly see served in cafeterias, on flights, and in grocery stores may not be as healthy as whole fruit itself. Plus, there's a high chance that the store-bought juice undergo industrial processing with added industrial ingredients. Even when a beverage is 100% fruit juice with no added sugars or additives, it can still raise your blood glucose levels noticeably. So next time you want to have some fruits, remember that whole fruit are the best choice for stable blood sugar management, followed by smoothies, with just juice being the least favorable option. And if you want to learn more about the classification of UPFs, you can try using the NOVA Food Processing Classification. I'll link it in the video description. Then we have the health impact of UPFs. UPFs tend to be calorie dense but nutrient poor. They can disrupt the gut microbiome, spike blood sugar, and strain metabolism. Recent studies suggest possible links not just with obesity and diabetes, but also with depression, anxiety, and even dementia. For example, a 2022 study in JAMA Neurology found an association between high UPF intake and faster cognitive decline. When I learned this, it really struck me because these foods are so common and marketed as convenient, yet the long-term impacts can be invisible until much later. This is sometimes called hidden hunger. We may consume plenty of calories, but still miss essential nutrients. Next, environmental impacts of creating UPF products. UPFs don't just affect people, they affect the planet. Reliance on monocrops like soy, corn, wheat, and palm oil drives deforestation and biodiversity loss. Reports by WWF and UNEP show how industrial agriculture contributes to ecosystem collapse, pesticides pollution, and climate change. By now you're probably thinking, well, if they're so harmful, why are they everywhere? Well, it's not just about availability, it's also about marketing. UPFs are advertised as modern, cool, or healthy, often targeting children, marginalized groups, and developing countries. In places like Ghana and Brazil, studies have shown that fast food and packaged snacks are sold as symbols of status and progress, reshaping diets and cultures. I used to not think twice about the UPFs I ate. They looked trendy, convenient, and sometimes even healthy. Like many people, I trusted the labels. But once I learned to read ingredients and understood the industrial processes behind them, I couldn't see them the same way again. For me, switching mostly to whole foods such as fruits, vegetables, nuts, legumes, and grains made a huge difference. I have acne-prone skin, so I'd get acne from having milk or anything with dairy. I also struggle with bloating and lethargy after eating bread, pastries, and pasta. I'm not sure if it's because I'm an HSP, but I feel like my symptoms are quite obvious if I eat foods that don't agree with my body, and it shows in my energy, my skin, mood, and my digestive system. Since moving towards farm-fresh whole foods, I've noticed better energy, clearer focus, less breakouts, and no more constant brain fog, and much improvement on my anxiety. That's why I created the Artistry in Harmony series to share what I've learned through books, courses, and personal trial and error, and to encourage reflection without judgment. And the point isn't to feel guilty, but small choices do add up. Here are some tips you can consider. Choose whole fruits, veggies, nuts, legumes, and beans when possible. Read labels and favor products with simple, recognizable ingredients. Reconnect with cooking and eating together. Support local farmers and sustainable businesses. Food is meant to nourish us, body and mind. When we choose foods that truly sustain us, we're also contributing to a food system that supports future generations and the planet. UPFs may be everywhere, but awareness gives us power and choices. And every mindful choice is both self-care and a personal contribution to the world.